the Oxford Board of Commissioners agenda meeting. Today is Monday, July 31st, 2023, and it is 5:35 p.m. We are assembled here in the third floor Commissioners Boardroom of City Hall. And our business tonight is simply to set the agenda for the Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 regular session. So you have that. Is everybody tuned in? You have a hard copy. If you are not able to access it on your iPad, and on your iPad, if you want to get to attachments, click on the hot link. Okay? So we are starting with prayer by Reverend Kathy Newton-Duncan of St. Peter's United Methodist Church. That's wonderful. I don't know if she's come before. That's lovely. Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem, and so on. Oh, yes. It's Revere, which she also is. But thank you. Thank you, Rob.
I should make mention that Jenny Wilson actually helped me get all of these ministers to pray.
Oh, great.
She did. She worked really hard and got me some help.
Wonderful. Oh, excellent. Okay. Delegations, we have presentation for the Yard of the Month and the Employee of the Month still to be determined. And do we expect a departmental report?
We have not had a chance to really discuss it, so it'll be on the next.
Okay. Got it. Public comment, public hearings. So we have the first of two public hearings to hear citizen input regarding the 2023 Community Development Block Grant. And this first one is a generic hearing to announce that the CDBG funds are available and allow persons or groups to participate in grant application planning. Does anybody have any questions on this item at this time?
No, ma'am.
Moving forward to city business, consider accepting the sufficiency statement from the city clerk for the non-contiguous annexation of the property located at 4702 Highway 15 South. And city has done that, and it is attached at the link at the bottom of the narrative, certificate of sufficiency. Does anybody have any questions on this item at this time? It meets the guidelines. So 5.2 is annexation ordinance. Consider adopting an annexation ordinance for the request from James and Cynthia Henderson for non-contiguous annexation of property located at 4702 Highway 15 South. And if you'll recall, this is in order to receive water and sewer to be connected to our system. Does anybody have any questions on this item at this time?
Just to make it clear, they do realize the cost involved is up to them.
Yes. Yes. Actually, in the first agenda that we had, that was one of the attachments that Cindy included, in that they are aware of being responsible for any costs associated with the connection to the water and sewer system, and the property is within a mile from the corporate limits. Okay. Moving on to item 5.3, consider adopting an investment policy for the city. And if you click on the hot link, you have that as an attachment. Do any of you have any questions?
I have a comment.
Yes.
So, spoke with the city manager earlier today. I think I like, and thank you, Melanie. There you are. For putting a lot of these policies together, we're about to go through. Only comment that I have is I would recommend, and I had a conversation with the city manager about this earlier today, that we put in some checks and balances. So right now, the policy basically says it's within the finance director's discretion to move funds from one account to another, or basically move idle money to like an interest-bearing account or vice versa. I think for the purposes of auditing, and if we remember back to when our auditor was here back a few months ago, that they did recommend us having some additional checks and separations. So if we could find some adequate language to have a sign off from the city manager or put in some type of tiered limit to where you're moving balances up to a certain point without having to seek board approval beyond city manager approval or whatever we think is the appropriate process. But working that into this one, I think is going to be helpful.
I agree with you.
It sounds reasonable.
So would the appropriate thing before this comes to the agenda next week, Mr. Taylor, can you work with Ms. Trexler in coming up with some language and send it out for everybody to see ahead of time?
Absolutely.
Okay, does that work for you,
Yeah,
Commissioner?
I think that's fine. That's what we discussed this afternoon. So
Okay,
works for me.
okay, I'm just writing myself a note, if you'll bear with me. Excellent. Okay, moving forward to item 5.4, and I apologize, I'm not used to the new agenda, that the narrative was all on the following page. I know you all are looking on your screens. I'm still locked out of mine. So 5.4, consider adopting the debt management policy, and this is to ensure appropriate use of debt management to reduce the annual cost of public improvements and to equalize the costs related to improvements between present and future citizens. So having a debt management policy demonstrates to external agencies such as the local government commission or bond rating firms that a financial plan that includes long and short-term debt service. Most importantly, it demonstrates the justification process for the city to incur debt. You have that at the hot link as well. Do any of you have any questions about this item at this time?
Only comment that I think it's long overdue. And again, thank you for putting in the effort.
Absolutely. You don't have that? Hold that thought for a moment, if you will. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you need magnifying glasses.
Pinch and zoom. Pinch and zoom.
Okay, Brian.
Okay. And ladies, do you all have access? You do have the agenda? Okay, so you saw the narrative for the previous item that I didn't read. I apologize for that. Okay, item 5.5, consider adopting a grant writing agreement resolution. Our finance director engaged the League of Municipalities about the possibility of providing grant writing services. The League has been awarded ARPA funds via the state legislature to provide this in cybersecurity analysis. They are authorized to provide up to $30,000 worth of services at no cost to the city, and the work is performed in 3 phases. In phase 1, project identification, prioritization, funding source identification, and ability to meet the requirements. Phase 2, preparation and submittal of grant applications, and phase 3, grant award management. And we must use the services before December of 2026. And part of this resolution is to allow the league to potentially perform a cybersecurity gap analysis, which is great. So you've got a hot link that shows ARP resolution grant services, another one for grant services, scope of services for Oxford, ARP memorandum of agreement, and another one, grant services for Oxford. So you have those 4 attachments. Do you all have any questions on this item at this time?
I'll just make one comment for my colleagues. If you're following along on your iPad, I do believe it is out of order in the contents on the left-hand side. So because you're currently discussing 5.5, right? Yeah.
Yes.
For the grant writing on the side of the agenda, it has that listed at 5.6. But on
I apologize.
no, you're actually right. You have it correct. It's just I'm just noting that on here that in diligent it goes out of order. So if anybody is confused, yeah.
I've got to get
Yeah.
It's just out of it's just one out of order.
See there.
So let me,
Right there.
Cindy made me a second copy. Let me just double check and see what it is. Yep, no, it's 5.5 and
It's
it's,
5.5.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Item 5.6, so and that makes sense that the cash reserves policy would actually be 5.5 and grouped with the other policies that you put for us. So that does make more sense. So diligent is maybe thinking for us.
Diligent needs to stop.
Okay. But are we ready to move on to 5.6 or shall I wait till y'all get on point? I'm happy to hang out.
Which one do you want? The acknowledgement? You should know it right now.
You tell me when you're ready. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody's together. 5.6, consider adopting a cash reserves policy. The purpose of this policy is to establish guidelines for preserving adequate reserves or fund balance in order to sustain financial stability and to provide prudent management of the city's financial reserves. The city's financial reserves are an essential component in both short and long-term financial planning for operations and stabilization of taxes and fees. The policy provides for the administration and reporting of all the city's reserves. Adequate reserves are a key factor in external agencies such as the local government commission or bond rating firms a measurement of the city's financial strength. If the policy is adopted, so I'm assuming this would be today, we're showing where we are with our current reserves and fund minimum reserves. Okay, so you see all of that spelled out for the different funds and where we have over 50% committed to future projects. And you have the hot link cash reserves policy, you have that document. And if any of you all have any questions on this item?
I have a question, but diligent, I think my homework is now showing. The link, the hyperlink in here is no longer showing the correct item, by the way.
Diligent.
Yes. So the question I have, and Melanie and Brent gonna have to help me out here since I find the latest hard copy. There was a section there that talked about the interest accrual.
About the what rule?
Interest.
Interest if you.
Uh-huh.
My only question with that, wherever the hell it is that basically on what I would like to see moving forward, is if we're able to spell that out like on our monthly financial, basically at the bottom right now we have a cash and investments section, right? If we can just like spell out how, just understand, like break it out, understand how much interest we've accrued as part of that, so that when we talk about those funds, we can see what it is that we're discussing, if that's possible. That was all the notes. That was the only note that I had in there on that.
Okay, excellent. Any questions from anybody else?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Sue.
I remember we discussed this before, and I just don't remember the actual numbers. Is the 40%, where does that come from? Is that recommended by the league, or I remember us talking about it at some point?
The league actually has a recommendation of 8%, but 8% is roughly 1 month. And if you spit down to 8%, you essentially would have the inability to do anything. And it would make us incredibly nervous from a cash flow standpoint. So 40% is roughly about 5 months of revenue, and that would typically allow me sufficient enough time to collect revenues and also forecast if we were going to have any shortfalls, whether we can dip into it or not. So it's a safe enough number, and it also gives you flexibility to do some other things, because right now you're above that. And so it does keep you at a good spot to get something else.
If you remember, back in early spring, our interim city manager had pulled all of the municipalities of our relative size to come up with, because we wanted to see what everyone else was doing.
Yeah.
And outside of the outliers, I mean, like the coastal communities, which have more natural disasters, and some of the western counties, which are prone to more natural disasters, the average was around 40%. And that's where we kind of said we're going to put a stake in the ground.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
My concern would be, well, I'm of the mindset though that we need to have it a little bit higher, but I've already talked about that. But anyway, my concern though would be that we be really, really in tune to the impact that each one of our expenditures have on our reserves. So again, we would need to have where we're standing based upon whatever decision we make, and it has to be done immediately. We can't wait any length of time because otherwise our numbers get skewed for us. I mean, so we need to keep our numbers percentage wise as far as this fund balance in check and in order so that each action that we take, these are the consequences of this action. And we know, have a running tally of how deep a hole we're digging for ourselves.
That's definitely needs to be anytime you would dip into fund balance, or that we would show you where it is today, where it's going to be in the future, so you would know that as soon as you were making that decision.
So does that mean while we're sitting right here, somebody can run the number right quick, or will it be a day delay, or how quick can it be?
Well, anytime that there's a recommendation you say fund balance, it would be there in present time.
And is there, to follow up on that, so I think there are two things. One, I think what Commissioner Guillory was pointing out is that we don't have to be in a rush to spend it down. You know, more is better, in terms of the safety net. And the other thing is there, and right now, I apologize that I'm not recalling the precise word, but there's allocated that's where you haven't spent it, but you know that it is already encumbered. Thank you, it just slipped my mind. So is there some merit in a periodic, when you're giving us some information about where we stand with the fund balance and kind of specifying this is encumbered and this is not?
Absolutely, we do that because that's part of it.
Okay, that would be wonderful. And then I have, Commissioner Gilbert, do you have further comments, or are there any other comments from anybody?
But what does 6 months look like? Or what percentage would be if we did a year?
If you,
I'm just asking.
we're right now roughly about 80%.
Say, we're at 80, and we're really talking about possibly spending 50%.
Well, you're not talking about spending anything right now.
No, I'm not saying right now, but the possibility technically could be. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of spending.
Well, spending money on?
Nothing. I'm just saying that if the fund balance is at 85, and if we're willing to take it to 40, I mean, the minimum will be 40. You know, technically, that's 50% of the fund balance.
Of course, keep in mind, you don't have to spend it.
Exactly. I'm in agreement with that.
So it's, something you can set at any level you like, of course, but you do want to have some room to maneuver. And sometimes too, you save in fund balance for a project, and that can very well be a part of that too. As well.
We're saying the floor is 40%, not the ceiling.
Exactly.
So it's not gonna, yeah, we're not saying
Right.
that
That's right.
minimum is 40%,
Right.
not maximum.
And, you know, I mean, we'll be keeping an eye on it because we have made plans to allocate this significant portion to balance the budget this year. So that some of that is going to have to become natural spending down just as a course of this budget year. That said, I had a question just about, let me find it, the wording. Under the Power Bill Fund, in section 4.D.1, it references fund balance of 25% of ongoing revenues in the general fund. And I just wondered if that was intentional because we're talking about the bill fund. It's kind of like,
That should have been Kyle Bill.
Okay. So if you can, and then it repeats it, if you can just kind of make sure we're straight on that, that would be great. And And also, okay, and at the bottom, section 5.1.a priorities, the last line, do we want the word "D" in between two and allocated? Be allocated. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you both for all of your work on these policies. They're well needed. Okay, so and with that, we get to the consent agenda. And included in that is the finance report for June, so that's the end of the year. And the July 3rd and July 11th minutes. And just a placeholder, if for any reason we need to go into closed session, is just including that, so it's available. With that, any additional comments? Mr. Burnett, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Taylor?
I'm good.
Commissioner Lumpkin?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Bullock? Mayor Pro Tem? Commissioner Bridges?
Yeah, I'd like to get an update on how things are coming with the police department. More specifically, repairs to the roof of the police department. And in addition to that, I'd like to get an update on staffing at the police department in terms of how many vacancies we have and what the plan is for filling those vacancies.
Okay. Do you have any comments at this
But,
point? Or you wanna wait?
but I'm really concerned about the condition relative to the building. Yeah. I plan to go by the police department, as I'm hearing there's water still leaking and we're concerned about safety.
And we are addressing that, and I can give you an update. I can ask to get some bit more information for you. But it has not, I've been down there a couple of times myself, and you've seen exactly what you're talking about. So we are trying to address that in a long-term way.
All right, I appreciate that.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Are you, that's
Yeah,
sufficient?
yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Covey?
Mr. Bridges stole my thunder about the police station, but hey, don't worry about that. I just want to thank Melissa and Tina for the luncheon the other day. Put that on public record. It was a good luncheon.
Yep.
Hope you enjoyed it. It's well deserved. We need to thank them for the
Absolutely.
hard job they did.
And I think she had a whole committee. So it's my understanding that she had a representative from every department, I think, working with her.
Not every department, but we did, we had a representative from wastewater treatment, public works,
Finance.
PD, finance, engineering, Melissa, and myself.
Yeah.
I think that was it.
Absolutely. Outstanding job. You couldn't control the weather, but I'll tell you what, you did a great job trying to mitigate it with the fans and,
And that was all, Melissa did 90% of the work.
okay, well,
Her and Tina.
it was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Everybody deserves a round of applause. One, for the good work that they do for the city and everybody who worked to make that happen. Yep. So thank you, John, for bringing that up. Commissioner Doty.
Well, I was just curious. I thought we had taken a look at the police department and made some repairs. So are these new issues?
Ongoing.
That they are.
Okay.
The roof stuff still.
Still anything? Okay. I'm good. I was just curious. It's like, wow. All right. It's all good.
Okay, and Commissioner Khan.
Thank you to staff and apologies for not making it last Friday, traveling for work, but you guys wanted to talk to me on the 5th, so that'll make up for it. Outside of that, again, thank you very much for the policies. I know you worked hard on those, and they were sort of and Brent. I know you guys put a lot into that, so thank you for getting that to us. But, nope. See you guys Tuesday.
Okay, great. Any?
Oh,
any-
I hope, for what it's worth, I hope Tina feels better. So she was out sick today. That's why we had to postpone our park and recs.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Any last calls, comments, anything? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay, I think I heard from Mr. Cody and Bullock concomitantly. All in favor, signify.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? That motion carries. Thank you all very much. Stay cool. Today is actually much more manageable.
Yeah.
I agree.